Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Baldurs Gate. Today we're back for a new set of interesting multi-class concepts and ideas, featuring some from us and some from the comments of last time. As always, we aim for a nice mix of powerful and fun options, and a big thank you as always to everyone making suggestions on these videos so we can include some. Today I've got some classic high DPS concepts, sure, but quite a few brilliant support or control based builds as a nice change of pace, so let's begin. First up, we have our support build thanks to a commenter on the last video, Stefan Leung. Stefan noted how many of those multi-class ideas lately have been about pure damage, so came up with this potent support option, whether that's healing or utility. It's a simple and strong mix of life domain cleric and divination wizard. The balance ends up a satisfying mix of 6 levels in the cleric and 6 in the wizard. This will net you heavy armor proficiency, shield proficiency, and you'll keep the support relatively survivable because of that, all thanks to the first level in cleric. You're going to net potent spells for support purposes though, in the form of all-powerful sanctuary, an ultra good spell that you can get early in a playthrough, making yourself almost entirely immune to damage, best used at the end of a turn or on an ally if you wanted, and it's only broken by a few options or whether you choose to attack. We'll have some AoE heals in the form of aid, which you can upcast of course, and mass healing. Stefan also highlighted that you'll end up with 2 charges of preserved life, a heal that increases based on your current level thanks to the life domain subclass, and then just a bunch of other useful things for support like guidance, light and water, command, which I'll highlight later on. You'll have an extra target in the form of a spirit weapon and more. All of that's great for a support focused build, but the multi-class is what's really interesting here. When we consider the Divination Wizard, we're going to be getting a shield spell at the first level, raising your AC on an incoming attack as a reaction, mirror image at level 2 for further protection of that nature, and then we'll eventually net both haste and counter spell, 2 meta spell picks in the game overall. Of course, your concentration's pretty much always going to go to haste then, likely on an ally, your biggest DPS option, and then counter spelling any incoming spells that might pose a problem for you or the team. A level 6 wizard, you'll have potent dice and lots of wizard spell options like Longstrider for you and your party, Fog to break line of sight, Misty Step to position yourself, Shockwave, Knock, invisible options, and more. So a simple combination of these 2 classes with a support focus on them leads to a majorly strong AoE healing or target healing option with lots of CC and a pile of potent group buffs. Stefan also recommended you learn the Globe of Invulnerability as a top tier immune to damage option for those rare scenarios you really need it, and the Alert feat because then you'll always have first go, allowing you to prep the fight no matter the situation. Interestingly, Stefan suggests we don't actually need to heavily invest in either of the main stats of the 2 classes, being intelligence and wisdom. Many of the spells are support or healing based, so they don't scale in that way, so a nice clean mix of 16 in both to begin with should more than do the job. So I like this concept, Stefan, a nice change of pace for these multi-class suggestions, and one that I'm going to run with in today's episode. But first we have one from us, the insane 100% crit AoE fear generating Paladin multi-class. Combining Paladin and Rogue under the Assassin subclass, you can get yourself 100% crit against those surprise targets and advantage against those that have not yet taken a turn. Then we triple it up with the Great Old One Warlock, causes those crits to cause a fear, actually a small AoE around the initial target, which can sow absolute chaos in a fight. Whenever we crit, we can trigger a follow-up Divine Smite, which we can upcast as much as possible to push that damage and burst even higher. While the build works super well on the opening of a fight in that ambush style, it's still going to work in a full-fledged fight where you don't have that. After all, we do have access to invisibility in the build, meaning even the toughest ambushes to set up is still possible. Ultimately, this build and concept is very bursty and ties closely to your ability to surprise and sneak up on enemies. Despite that concept, it's mostly a Paladin. 6 levels into Vengeance Paladin, 3 into the Great Old One Warlock, and finally the last 3 levels into Assassin Rogue. And that's actually the order of leveling right there, because 6 in Paladin's going to net you, say, extra attack and your aura and really get the class going. 3 into Warlock after that will get you the subclass and Pact of the Blade, meaning our main stat for the build being Charisma will become really relevant. Finally, 3 last levels into Assassin Rogue for that subclass of various powerful passives, and you'll reach the complete build. Really strong, really fun, and quite a unique mix. And what's nice about this is how it gets going pretty much straight away. You know, you're just starting out the playthrough as a normal, strong Paladin. Then when you reach the point of Warlock, you're going to get the Pact, spiking your power, and then you finally become a full Assassin at the end, leaning more into stealth and ambushing with the playstyle. If you are interested in this concept though, we have a full build guide for this one on the channel right now, including all the details, the gear, how to play, and so on. So check it out. But now we're back to one from the comments of last time. This comes from jbar7540, who spoke about a Hordebreaker focused ranger, following on from that concept from last time, where the bard subclass College of Swords features ranged versions of those flourishes, and potentially one of the best range attacks in the game, specifically the slashing one, allowing you to attack a target twice in a row. But then combine that with Hordebreaker from Ranger, and now we're really getting into that multi-attack concept. Hordebreaker comes from the Hunter subclass of Ranger, in which you have a choice of 3 interesting effects for your Hunter's Prey. If you choose Hordebreaker then, you're able to attack 2 creatures that are standing close to one another, but then we can go further. J-Bar highlighted how you can mix in War Cleric and earn an extra bonus action for another shot, meaning 3 rounds running 5 attacks each, all unbuffed. Of course, if you introduce from a party member haste, things get crazy, and then you could start running, say, duo hand crossbows and really get nuts. J-Bar suggests 4 levels into Ranger for the Hunter subclass, and then there's a feat there, and then 2 levels into War Cleric to benefit from that bonus. Finally, the last 6 levels will go into your College of Swords Bard, leading into, the extra attack passive and another feat. So I like this idea. It was great to have a follow-up on that Bard Flourish range concept, and this one sounds like a good take on it. However, I think we're about to put the duo hand crossbow build to bed in terms of what is the most effective version. This one comes from the commenter Axiom Poetica, claiming to have the single most effective version of the dual hand crossbow build. Axiom left this massive comment with tons of detail that I actually recommend you stop and go read, or go to the video and check the comments if you want all the extreme detail. A big thank you then, Axiom, for going so far on that. The build though is a simple mix of rogue using thief as the subclass. That gives you the 2 bonus actions that you're going to want for an offhand weapon build, and then of course the main leveling goes into Bard under the College of Swords subclass. With that you have the super strong ranged flourish attacks, extra attack via level 6 College of Swords Bard, and a good amount of spell slots too. The mix is 4 levels into Rogue and 8 into Bard though, leaving you with 3 feats to work on compared to other mixes we've spoken of. Let's compare it to the Thief and Fighter version that originally sparked all this conversation around all the ways you can create a duo hand crossbow build. Compared to that then, you won't have Action Surge or Archery for the fighting style, which does suck. Archery is +2 to your range, which really helps, and Action Surge is going to be a 1 per short rest use to get an extra action attack, which can be very valuable. However, as highlighted by Axiom, you're going to get College of Swords 2-weapon fighting style, providing ability mod to your offhand damage, improving that. And then obviously, you're getting the Slashing Flourish and the other range flourishes, which are really good. With the level 8 Bard, you get 5 inspiration charges per short rest, so that's how many you can use for the Slashing Flourishes every fight. But as Axiom stated, with Song of Rest from the Bard, you are going to have 3 short rests per long rest, meaning you can push these flourishes more and more without long resting. Overall, thanks to the extra attack and fast hands, you can use 2 attacks with the main hand and 2 with the offhand per round. That's 6 shots per turn if you're using those main attacks on Slashing Flourish, you probably are. And if you combine that with haste from a party member, it's going to get even more. Ultimately, with the Sharpshooter feat and the right gear, you can push the damage of each hit, resulting in very high potential for the build concept. Axiom also highlighted that you could lean into something like greater invisibility, meaning you could fight while invisible and stealth, raising the power potential through that. Axiom highlighted a bunch of interesting gear options and suggestions, so once again I recommend you go read the full comment. I'll put it on screen, but you can go find it on the previous video to read, yourself. But Axiom, thank you so much. Great concept, sounds very strong. Moving on, let's talk about a really cool concept we covered as a build recently. The maximum control build that works, as a good support character, but it's almost all about stopping or slowing damage. By having your utility or support character go all in on control, you can hard CC even the legendary resistant enemies to such a level that it's 100%, which is ridiculous. As well as lock down big groups of enemies, boasting the potential of 11 targets CC'd at once with 1 spell, which is surely never needed, but possible and very impressive. This combination of just 1 level into Cleric in the knowledge domain, and then 11 levels into Sorcerer in whatever subclass you prefer for the spell slots combined with meta magic, that makes it happen. As I said earlier in the video, it circles back to the simple and strong as hell spell that is Command, which you can access in a variety of ways in Baldurs Gate 3. In short though, Command allows you to choose which type of control you want to use on a target, or targets of its options. By upcasting it, you increase the amount of targets you can control at once, once, all the way up to 6 targets via your 6th level spell slot. The best of those options seems to be drop to disarm a dangerous foe or steal their weapon, and grovel, probably the best one, which causes them to go prone. Prone targets are now, more vulnerable, which allows your allies to smash them during said prone. Another detail about command is how it seems like it should be a concentration spell, and yet it just isn't. The build also makes use of Sanctuary, of course, resulting in that next to invulnerable state for you or your allies while it's going. I'd say the most common way to control your enemies then would be to use something like Hypnotic Pattern as a form of AoE sleep, and then you can weave in control using grovel to specifically target one or multiple enemies to make them go prone. There's other control spells like Polymorph for more target CC if you want. Whenever you need to, you can use your meta magic for Quicken Spell, which means you can cast 2 action spells a turn for some extra control. If you mix in the alert feat, you can always go first, and the enemies basically never get a chance to attack due to that. To make this build even stronger and more consistent at landing the CCs, you want gear that has spell save DC on it, which is found throughout the game, even as early as Act 1. But yeah, for a full guide, all the details of the gear, check out the build video on exactly that. This also gives me a quick opportunity to address that I made a mistake in that build, so be aware. You want to start as a Sorcerer to get the Sorcerer proficiencies rather than the Cleric, because the Cleric cares about its subclass proficiencies more than the actual class proficiencies. So Sorcerer 1, Cleric 1, and then the rest into Sorcerer. That's what that leveling order should have been. But yeah, just a quick opportunity for me to acknowledge that. Finally, what about an interesting mix of another support style build of Lore Bard and Life Cleric, weaving in a bit of Rogue for Thief and its bonus action passive? This suggestion comes from 2 people, Jeremy Belgrave and Mejum, who I hope I'm pronouncing right. They both have their own takes on this concept. This support build uses the Warden of Vitality from Magic Secrets, an aura that allows for Restore Vitality casts as a bonus action. A smooth heal for you and nearby allies basically every turn. Now with this build, we don't have 1 bonus action, we have 2, so you can make use of multiple if you want to. As a Life Cleric to start out the build, you'll be able to use maybe medium or heavy armor for survivability. And what's interesting about this support build is how it comes online quite early. Just 7 levels will net you the 6 you need for Lore Bard, right? And you just need 1 for Life Domain Cleric. At that point, you have a strong healing support right there. But then 3 more levels will get you to Rogue for Thief and that second bonus action, pushing the potential further at level 10. Now you're left with 2 levels to put wherever you want. Maybe you'll put more levels into Bard or Cleric for the spell slots or other relevant spells and options, or go for another multi-class. Jeremy suggested a Storm Sorcerer with those 2 levels, since you get Tempestuous Magic, resulting in Fly as a bonus action, allowing for insane mobility in every fight because we have 2 bonus actions. You could always reach an ally for a heal or an enemy target, or position up for high ground. General exploration is going to be really smooth in this, and there's also going to be, say, the shield spell, or the ability to upcast fireballs from main damage source. Maybe you use the CC tied to this, like Hold Person. On the other hand, Mejum suggests perhaps 2 levels into Warlock for the Darkness spell, which you could also grab some Dark Sight yourself to be able to see through, creating more control options. Or maybe you just go Fighter, netting you Action Surge. Clearly though, there's going to be a lot of ways you could go with those final 2 levels. You're basically going to be building a strong caster with good healing and CC potential, then choosing how you want to progress that. As a concept in general, you're able to work in a strong healer with different options into your party, whether that's a party member that you're turning into one, if not yourself. But there you have it, another set of interesting and potentially awesome multi-classes and concepts to consider, and this one's been more of a support focused episode as a change of pace. But now I want to pose the question again, is there any multi-class concepts you've played or thought of? It could be something super silly and not meta at all, just interesting and fun, or it could be the strongest version of something you could think of. Let us know and maybe we can come back to cover them. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching, we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.